Hello, my name is Kathryn Clarke, and we're here to talk about spirituality. Now, because we all live life with an awareness of death, we tend to be curious about the idea of an afterlife. Different faiths have different beliefs, and most probably offer some elements that we find resonate with us. But what about the basics? Think back to a time when we climbed into our parents' car. Maybe we were 5 or 6 or 4, but we wanted to drive. And what did we do? We got behind the wheel and we just turned the steering wheel back and forth and back and forth. Now that was before power steering locked the wheel and ruined a lot of people's fun. But we knew that driving involved that motion. The extent of what we would later have to learn about driving was unknown to us in those moments. We would go on to observe and experience driving in all of its complexity and detail later. For the most part, most of us would go on to become competent drivers. Now, learning to live as spiritual beings can be something like this. Regardless of our religions, we are all children when it comes to the mysteries of the next life. The greats in all religious traditions become very humble and childlike in their disposition toward the divine. We could say that the more we learn, the more we understand how much we do not know. And there's nothing worse than someone who does not know what he does not know, right? I mean, sure, we've all been that guy on some days. For today, let's be the 5-year-old who somehow managed to get himself into the front seat of an old car without power steering and is swinging the wheel back and forth and enjoying the feeling of being a driver. First of all, where is our spirituality aimed? A basic hope is that we are aimed at heaven. But what is heaven? Now, I'm a Catholic, and our faith tradition includes, thankfully, wisdom from many mystics, as well as scripture and tradition. We drink up the writings of the mystics like children walking home from school in wool uniforms on a hot day in September. Do you remember how that was? How thirsty we were? By the way, those urban myths are true. Nobody drove us anywhere when we were kids. We walked. So we today are thirsty, that thirsty, for mystical truth. Mystical revelations share commonalities. Heaven, we understand, is a place of reunification with loved ones. There's freedom of movement, creativity, knowledge, uncomplicated connectivity between people who are no longer troubled by bodies that have aged or bodies that have suffered illness. Relationships are between people who are healed of past wounds and troubled mental states. When considering how to describe this, I had an idea that might seem odd, but let's give it a try. People who struggle with addictions or struggle with recovery from addiction can miss their drug of choice, whatever it was. They may feel intense relief, yes, to be freed, but there can also be grief at times from altered states that provided them with pockets of time where they report feeling less pain, less anxiety, less blackness, or maybe they just felt calm. People use substances for a reason, obviously, at least at the beginning. Now, I remember speaking with a man who had recovered from a dreadful heroin addiction. His life included like a great job, a beautiful wife and marriage, and a little gaggle of gorgeous babies, children. Truly, he had it all, and he knew it, which made it that much sweeter again. I miss it, you know, he confided to me one day. I don't miss anything that went with the addiction, but there are moments when I miss the feeling I had when I was using it. It's hard that I'm never going to feel that way again. And this is what he said. Fair enough, I replied. That sounds like an honest observation. What were the feelings you had when you were using it that you miss? My friends, we have to be curious about the stories of others because those stories help you and I to learn more about other people and also about ourselves. Well, this young man said to me with true honesty. I cannot really describe it, but it was like suddenly you had no problems. You felt so loved and so safe. You felt so safe, he said, like everything was going to be okay forever and nothing could ever be more wonderful. He went on to say, it was like being wrapped in a warm, soft blanket and feeling no pain, no fear, just loved. There was no more pressure, he said, no shame. You weren't a bad person. Your thoughts could go anywhere you wanted. And it was all very open and happy. Well, I can tell you, in that moment, I felt truly edified by this description. And I said to him, you realize you're describing heaven. You will definitely experience that again because you're describing what it's like to be in heaven. Those feelings are all in your future. A short observation will be helpful to everyone. This man had inadvertently described the causal components of drug addiction. Based on what he said, he used drugs to manage feeling overwhelmed, unsafe, without adequate resources to manage his anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and PTSD from whatever traumatized him as a child and made him feel that he was in constant danger. Am I making excuses for his drug addiction? Nope, I'm not. I'm providing explanations so that we can all understand how important it is that we identify our difficult feelings and emotions and learn to manage them in healthy ways. Back to heaven. It's oddly moving and fitting that we take at least some of our understanding of the beautiful next life from a person who survived and flourished after a deadly drug addiction. I just love the poetry in that. Now, no problems, feeling loved and safe, so safe. Like everything was going to be okay forever and nothing could ever be more wonderful. Like being wrapped in a warm, soft blanket, like a cherished little baby, feeling confident with no fear, only love. No pressure, no shame, no pain. Thoughts free to move anywhere. And anywhere thoughts went was safe and happy for you, friendly and open. My friends, that description fits in with the descriptions of most accepted mystics. We are loved by a divine creator, a powerful force of love who will draw us back into himself when we leave this life. People think of death as closing their eyes. They shouldn't. We have to stop that, I think. Think of death as the happiest day, the day when you will emerge from a body you no longer need, into a life you always craved. Every time we think of death, my friends, we should think of opening our eyes to a space and place that delights us, with people we missed and places we longed for. And, really crucially, being born into a time that's our time, whatever time we came from, a time where we fit in again. I believe this. I feel certainty about this. Mystical theology supports this. We cannot and should not discount the countless reports of people who experienced heaven so that they could come back and tell us about it. We accept that there is life before birth. Who would we be if we denied that? Doctors have performed life-saving operations on children in the womb. We are sure about that. My friends, in the same way that we are learning more about life before birth, we are learning more about life after our earthly experience. It's happening, and if you're looking for it, it's there. Perhaps we could think of three things: conception, life, and life eternal. Be excited. I have the greatest confidence in the next world. It's actually all around us all the time for anyone who starts to engage with it all in curiosity, wonder, and even the smallest, tiniest bit of faith.